What's up guys, it's Andy. Sorry I forgot my microphone, but we are making a December update for Elliot and we have some very exciting news to share. He has been medically cleared by the vet. So he trotted on the lunge for her as well as getting another ultrasound. So Elliot trotted on the lunge for the vet earlier this week and he was 100% sound. He was moving beautifully. He had the most beautiful frame, and she asked if he always goes around like that, and the answer was no. He's trying very hard to behave himself even though he wanted to freak out. And a lap and a half later, he did have a little bucking bronco moment, and he's infamous for his 4 feet off the ground bucking sessions. But with a clean ultrasound, he was okayed for us to start walk and trot work under saddle as well as getting him back into turnout. So today was his first day of turnout. He was out for about 3 hours. There was a lot of bucking, but no running, so that was good. As far as I can tell, it's hard because she surgically clipped that leg. So of course it feels a little bit warmer than the other because it doesn't have hair on it. And it doesn't feel swollen or anything like that. So I think today was a success, and now I'm gonna work him tonight. We've been approved to do a little bit of trotting on the lunge, about 8 laps both directions. She was pretty comfortable with. So what we're gonna do first is we are going to warm up walking over some poles, and then we are going to do a little bit of lunge work, and then I have been able to bareback ride him a little bit, and I'm gonna have Paul assist me with doing more than just a circle right around the mounting block. We're gonna try and do half the arena and incorporate some of the poles. So let's go ahead and get going with the vlog. Okay, so this is kind of what I have set up. So I have his bridle there for later. I've pulled the mounting block away from the wall just because he's had some PTSD over here just from the accident and riding with his injuries. So mounting block is over here where we've been doing target practice with getting on. And then I have 3 sets of walking poles. 2 of them are raised and angled. And then the flat ones I'm hoping to incorporate into our riding part. And then the cones are just for weaving. And hopefully he'll be able to walk 2 half laps with me and Paul tonight. So basically our walk was just a walk. He was pretty good. This was going to be his first day lunging on the lunge line, not in front of a vet. So I wanted to make sure he was very well warmed up and in a good headspace. He is sedated at this point still for exercise just because he is still not, this was his first day of turnout, and until he gets more regular turnout, is out for longer days, and is getting into more work, we have to keep him sedated just for everybody's safety. But he is getting 1/3 of the dose he should be getting for his body weight. So he's like 80% mentally there and not sedated. So by walking over the raised poles, I'm encouraging him to lift up his hind end all the way through his hips. And the weaving of the cones in the back there is just to keep him with me, and I can practice pressure towards his face and getting him to follow me away. And that just kind of helps with basic groundwork. So that's pretty much all we do for the walking portion, and we just do it over and over after he's had a few warm-up laps. Here is where I started him out on the lunge line, and I did walk him a couple laps before asking him to trot. You can see he tosses his head. That's like his signature move. But his tail looks nice and loose, and as I've introduced the lunge whip back,
because my arm gets tired of doing what it's doing with the end of the lunge line, trying to get him to move forward. I have noticed he does like to play with the lunge whip. He'll actually lunge me around a little bit as like a little pony trick, but he seems to tuck his tail and be really nervous about having it behind him. So we're currently working on that. But here I'm just very quietly trying to introduce him into trot. I usually will run in place to kind of be like, all right, let's go next gate, let's trot. And it usually works. And he was very good this day. This was the first session on the lunge line for anybody, vet or not, that he hasn't bucked and reared. And you can tell he wants to play, but he really held it together and he looked so nice. And he continues to look really nice. And as he's getting more and more turnout now, he is just a beautiful mover. And I am so happy that he's back in work. As I mentioned earlier, I have barebacked around on him just around the mounting block and just in a halter. So the goal today was to put his bridle on, see what kind of effect that had on him mentally. And then before mounting, we always do 3 practice stands at the mounting block. So I'll always do dominant left side first, and I'll put my body weight on him and pet his other side. And when he decides to move, like here, that's not acceptable. So then I get back down and I replace him back where he's supposed to stand and try it again. He learns very quickly that if he doesn't stand nice, then I don't remove the pressure. So I like reward positive training. However, it seems to have worked really well with Elliot that the reward for him, because he gets too wild with treats, he gets kind of crazy actually, is for me to remove myself. So removing of pressure is rewarding for him. So we do over the back one way, we'll go to the non-dominant side and do over the back that way as well. And then we will go back to the dominant side. I will throw a leg over, see how he does, and then we go from there. As you can see, he's a little sticky at the mounting block and he has PTSD, and people don't remember this, and this is why the block is an open space away from the wall. I'm not forcing it. He's needing to choose to stand there with me, because it took us a long time to find this injury, because he could ride sound if he was asked to use his hind end. Therefore, he was ridden for a solid month in training with a trainer with this injured leg, and that's when the issues at the mounting block started, because he associated mounting with riding and pain. So unfortunately, we've had to start from square one, and it's going really well. He's actually behaved very, very positively and is not stressed out at all by the training we've done. And we did a lot of standing work where we just practiced standing before I even got on the block. So baby steps seem to work well for him. Here is when I have Paul come in with the lunge line to hook up to Elliot's bit, simply just as a backup safety net in case Elliot decides to go bonkers. Because again, we've only done like maybe a 10-meter circle around the mounting block, and we have not gone in both directions at this point. And so the goal today was to do the half lap over the red flat poles, one way, or one lap each direction. So that is just Paul being my safety net and staying by Elliot's head so he doesn't get too upset. I also never ride Elliot bareback, so it was a really weird feeling for me, and he wasn't quite sure about how he felt about not having a saddle. My butt bones were into his back and his spine was up my butt crack, and we just were both very uncomfortable, but we did actually find a good compromise in walking bareback after a few rides like this. So as his reward for calmly completing the lap, I get off and give him scratches and positive praise and all of the things. And without him moving, I intend on getting right back on, and we're going to go the other direction and see how he does. Obviously, Elliot did really well in this session, and I felt very confident that I could replicate this and do this without having to bring someone out with me. I felt very safe with him, and everything has just gotten so much better since, every session we do, it just gets better and better. So before I end his session, I go ahead and put him under the solarium so we can practice standing in the cross ties, because he seems to be having some trouble and trauma with that as well. So we go ahead and do his stretch routine, and then I incorporated a little later on to adding some brushing in there as well. And he has now successfully stood in the cross ties to have more clipping done on him. So he has come a really long way. I can't wait to give you guys more updates as we move into 2025 here. And hopefully the 2024 year in review video should be up soon. It's just a little delayed. We'll see you guys in the next one.